Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Congrats to Devin Haney. We finally have an undisputed lightweight champion in boxing. It's absolutely amazing to watch Devin Haney perform in that ring tonight. George Kambosos just didn't have an answer, man. He just looked clueless. When I say look clueless, man, this fight honestly looked like a pro against a rookie. It really did. Haney controlled the action for most of the contest, leading with his beautiful jab, and completely disrupting Kambosos' game. He controlled the distance. He kept the hometown fighter at bay. He even silenced that loud Aussie crowd, and he just ended up with a really quality decision win. It was absolutely amazing. And just thinking about Devin Haney being so incredibly young at 23 years old, and he impressively took all the lightweight belts and remained undefeated in his 28 fights. Absolutely amazing, man. Especially the way Haney shockingly and so intelligently shut down Kambosos' offense and really exploited his defense. I mean, Haney was throwing the jab, up, down, When I say up, I'm talking about an up jab, going down to the body, throwing a straight jab, throwing a looping right hand, throwing the check hook. Haney was just boxing him, and just boxing beautifully, man. And Kambosos in this fight, Kambosos is a volume puncher, and he likes to get in there and mix it up, but I was surprised because Kambosos landed, significantly lesser shots than Devin Haney in the entire fight. So it's just Devin Haney is just amazing, man. To go all the way over there to Australia with all of the obstacles they put in front of him before the fight, and then you can just see as we're getting closer to the fight and the days leading up to it, you can see those stars starting to line up. Haney was starting to get the upper hand in the press conferences, and his dad showing up, the weigh-in problems for Kambosos. You can just see that like they really should do a movie. Like I would be really interested in watching the epilogue, but they would have to. The editors for the epilogue would really have to put their best foot forward to give us something really, really interesting and really professional, because this was no ordinary championship buildup. This was no ordinary championship fight. And I'm not just talking about the significance of the fight being for the undisputed distinction. I'm just talking about from Teofimo Lopez and Kambosos and all the drama before the fight, after the fight, ever since the fight happened with Teofimo not wanting to come to grips with his loss. Kambosos kind of following suit with Teofimo, winning all the belts and thinking he's the emperor and he's better than everyone else and everyone has to bow down to him. And the same thing, Devin Haney comes down to Australia. He's in another person's country, like Kambosos was here in America to fight Teofimo, and he gets clipped. And when I say, and I'll use the word clipped for what Haney did to Kambosos, because he shut him down and he outboxed him, and he just made Kambosos look lost and embarrassed. So the way the fight started off, I knew it was going to be problems. First, I just want to say the Australian people, they have some flavor to them, man. I swear, I feel like I was watching a fight out there in the UK. Devin Haney coming into DMX, you're hearing 50 Cent playing, see the crowd dancing. I was like, man, the crowd was definitely ready for an eventful night, and I think they got that. But the walk-in was pretty entertaining to me. But what shocked me is how, and I wasn't that shocked, but it's still, they booed Devin from from the damn national anthems to his ring walk to the end of the fight. Devin Haney just, normally you see when a fighter is really gaining momentum in the fight and winning decisively, you'll see that at some point the crowd will turn and start to cheer them on. But not in Australia. You know, they're sticking with their Australian fighter, and they're not deviating. They don't care. So it was, it was cool to see that, how patriotic they are. But Devin Haney was definitely in enemy territory. And in the fall, he'll be back, and there'll be a rematch, and they'll be fighting in Australia again. But in round one, the way I had it, it was just the Haney jab, man. Haney's jab just creating a lot of problems for Kambosos. Every time he threw that jab, Kambosos had to reset. Kambosos did get a little right hand off, but that was definitely a Haney round. And you could see that Kambosos was trying to figure him out. He wanted to get his shots off, but that every time Haney hit him with that jab, Kambosos was forced to take a step back and reset. And as a result, he wasn't able to get his offense off at all. You could see in that first round, he was going to have to be defensive-minded in that fight more than offensive-minded because he couldn't understand how Devin was hitting him with those hard, crisp jabs. Going into the second round, Kambosos started timing Haney a bit more. Haney hit him with an extremely strong jab, but Haney in the second round I started noticing, and this continued throughout the fight, ducking really, really low, closing the distance really fast and tying up Kambosos. That's something that you would see Mayweather do in some of his fights. He would get his shots off real quick, close the distance, and tie you up. And that's something a lot of fighters complained about. Even they used to say that Kenny Bayless used to allow Floyd to do a lot of holding. And some fighters would complain about that. And Kenny Bayless actually came under the microscope a few times about kind of being biased and favoring Floyd because he he refereed so many of Floyd's fights. But I don't know. But that's what they were saying. But going into the third round, Haney, man, was throwing that quick 1-2, got countered by Kambosos. It was pretty interesting. Then Haney came back with the 1-2, and Kambosos started looking desperate. But at the same time, you could see Haney fainting at him, and Kambosos was flinching in round 3. And Haney started to lead with the hook sometimes. So Haney was mixing it up, and Kambosos just didn't know where the shots were coming from, if Haney was going to go high, go low, what punch selection he was going to get hit with. He just knew something was coming, and he started flinching a lot, and it looked a bit, in my opinion, disoriented. Getting into the fourth round, you seen Haney finally come up with that jab to the body. Kambosos, again, resetting and confused. Biggest shot of the fight was the Haney right hook. He threw a lead right hook and caught Kambosos flush. But Kambosos lands some shots on Haney, returns the fire. Some shots on Haney, but Haney returned the fire with the bigger shots. Went into round 5. Haney was doing some beautiful work where they would exchange, or Kambosos would let a shot go, but Haney was landing in between Kambosos' shots. And that is hard to do. That is something that not many fighters can pull off. It requires speed, timing, and focus. Like if one of those 3 things aren't in play, you're not going to be able to land in between your opponent's shots the way Haney was doing in that 5th round. But the one thing I noticed by round 5 is Kambosos, he never once tried to go to Haney's body. And, the body can't move. I think he should have at least around round 5 started trying to go to Haney's body to give himself a chance, but he just couldn't do it. And I'm not even trying to be funny when I say this. I honestly think, first of all, this is a fact. Kambosos fought the wrong fight. But secondly, and again, where I say I'm not trying to be funny, I think Kambosos, his arms were just too short, man. He was here trying to outbox Devin Haney, and you can see he was just missing by a mile. I'm not even talking about Devin was slipping the shots and get out the way. Kambosos just could not land shots. And I think it's because he just didn't have enough length on his arms to get there. But it was pretty embarrassing to see Kambosos perform the way he did up to round 5. And then Haney started trying the right hand, and Kambosos, to me, was looking really lost by round 5. But round 6, you know, Devin Haney's on cruise control, man. Haney is stepping with him. That's something I noticed. If Kambosos was get a shot off and step back, Haney would step with him and get his shots off. So essentially, where Kambosos is thinking more about stepping back, getting out of the line of fire, Devin Haney steps with him and he gets his offense off. And Kambosos wasn't able to react quick enough. He was getting caught cleanly with those shots. But then Kambosos came back and landed a big left hook. Round 7, the double jab. Something that Haney was doing the whole fight. Jab, double jab, clinch. Jab, double jab, clinch. And Kambosos started looking for one shot. And Haney's corner was telling him, don't give him that shot. Because at this point, Kambosos, his corner was feverishly trying to, motivate him. But Kambosos, when you're in the ring, it's easier said than done. Round 8, Haney was jabbing, going to the weak side of Kambosos, left hook, right hand by Haney. So something that Lomachenko does as well is he'll go to the weak side of a fighter to avoid the big right hand. And if the fighter's trying to get off the left hand, or if he's trying to get off from the weak side, he'll go to the opposite side. So whatever that fighter's strength is, you can counter that by going to the opposite side. But you have to be careful with it, because a guy who has speed like Kambosos, he can get his shots off quickly. So that's where sometimes instead of going out on the angle to the opposite side, you step right into the chest, and it makes him hard for him to get the shots, and then you tie him up like what Haney was doing. And that's why you saw Kambosos not having many opportunities, if any opportunities at all, to get any shots off. Round 9, they both dropped some right hooks on each other. In the opening, Kambosos was switching stances, and when I saw that, I said, oh, it's over. When he started switching stances, I knew it was over. That means he's lost, and he's desperate, and he's looking for something, and it just wasn't going to come. And again, I just noticed in that round, again, his arms are just too short to get off the shots that he was trying to throw. He was, again, fighting the wrong fight. Round 10, Kambosos started cheating, holding Haney's arm and trying to spin him and get something off. And this was one of those by any means necessary type of things, because Kambosos isn't a dirty fighter, but he knew he was losing, so he tried a few dirty tactics. It didn't work. He didn't continue with it because he's a clean fighter, but he should have just made it a dogfight. Just slug it out, rough Haney up, put the elbow in his face, do something. Even come in low, come up with your head. He had to do something, but trying to disguise and mask it. He didn't. He fought a clean fight. He tried to box him, and he just lost. Round 11, Yoel Judah. You can hear Yoel, Zab Judah's dad, big mouth, man. He was just telling him, man, don't let him get that shot off. And for Devin Haney was doing a good job of staying off the line. That means he wasn't in line for any shots coming from Kambosos. He was doing a great job getting off the line and getting out the way. Around 12, man, Devin Haney, man, the fight was over, man. Became the undisputed champion. But what I noticed in there, and this had nothing to do with the boxing match, that stadium was cold as hell, man. It's like 60-something degrees in there. And these kids in there, cold, everybody's freezing. And I know when you're active, like the boxers in the ring, they warm up, and you're sweating and everything. But I was wondering how, and I don't know if this is allowed, but in between rounds, why wouldn't they wrap them up in a robe or a towel, just to keep those guys warm? Because they sit there and they're sweating profusely. I was like, man, why aren't they keeping them warm? Because they had to be freezing, man. They had to be freezing in there. But it is what it is. Even the scorecards weren't too bad, but they were a little funky. If Kambosos would have made it a little closer, they would have robbed Devin Haney. Because 116, 112, I had that fight at best 10-2. So this 116, 112, the 118, 110 was spot on. But those other two, if Kambosos would have made it, if he would have threw 10 more punches around, Kambosos would have won the fight. So I don't care what anyone says. They tried to do Haney like Bivol, didn't they? But Haney took the he forced the judges to give him the win. Like he took it out of their hands. Like it was so one-sided, that boxing match, that there was no way they could rob him. Even though obviously you could look here and see 116, 112, they were going to rob Haney. So you can say, oh, well, there were neutral judges, it's Australia. And corruption is corruption, man. There's no way in the world that damn fight was 116, 112. Some could say that fight was 12-0. Haney won all 12 rounds. But I would say Devin Haney, it was like 10-2, 11-1, you know. But this 160, 112, it's complete madness, man. Complete madness. But anyway, it is what it is. Devin Haney is the second youngest undisputed champ in the 4-belt era. And, you know, he did his thing. Pretty amazing, man. Pretty amazing. And I'm so excited for him. And I'm excited for Kambosos because he gets a chance to redeem himself later this year. And Kambosos was very, very, very professional and respectful because although he was saying he thought it was close, he almost went down that damn rabbit hole like, what's his name, like Teofimo, and start, you know, protesting and saying that he won a fight that he lost. Like, you can look at the difference in their faces. Kambosos got shredded, man. He's lucky Haney isn't a harder hitter. He would have really messed up his face. So, good fight. Absolutely amazing. If you didn't watch it, it's going to be, I'm sure someone's going to post it in about 20 minutes on YouTube, but it was a good fight. Was not boring. It was very entertaining, very entertaining. Just to watch, you know, master boxer like Devin Haney, that guy is growing into, he's becoming a man. And he's handling himself like a true professional, man. And I'm not sure who's going to be able to beat him. The only thing I'll say about Devin Haney going forward, not with Kambosos, but if he goes up against like a Teofimo Lopez or someone else, he's going to have to start keeping them hands up, man. He got to keep his hands up. He got hit flush in the face by Kambosos, and Haney took him. But, you know, Devin Haney's going to start having to keep those hands up because if he gets hit like that by, you know, I don't know, maybe he fights Tank, he fights Teofimo, he fights Lomachenko, someone who can hurt him, Devin Haney can get himself in trouble. You got to start keeping those hands up. He's still young. He's still fast. He still has those quick twitch fibers, those super fast cat-like reflexes. He can get away with a lot of that. But at some point, you know, down the road, those legs start to go. If he hasn't corrected those bad habits, he's gonna find himself in a lot of trouble. But right now, Devin Haney he's a special fighter, and he's just gonna be a problem over the next couple of years. Devin Haney is definitely a problem. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Devin Haney, second youngest undisputed champ in the 4-belt era. Absolutely amazing. If you don't endorse this guy, you need to start because he's a special fighter. And he deserves all the accolades and money that comes with it. Anyway, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to the veterans. And as always, I'm in the breeze.